wanted to sell the song to make some money.
Yeah.
For the wedding.
Yeah.
You know how weddings can be like, yo, we need money. So I'm like, I can sell the song and make some money and then, take her for honeymoon, things like that. And that was the plan until one Saturday morning, I was walking around and somehow I stumbled onto that last section, the bridge, which is in Uganda. Navagereka omutima gwange anabeera mama w'abaana bange narulunja singa. Exactly. So but the moment I clicked with that, I was like, yo, I'm not selling this song, forget it.
Mujevale. My name is Bani Kibuka and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Ball Talk Show. So, Mr. Kimera, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
You were laughing at me. I'm the videographer, I'm the host, I'm the producer, I'm the editor.
You gotta do what you do.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, but I'm privileged to have this platform or create this platform. I've been doing this for about a year and a half, and try to host people on here to share stories. And I started this by sharing my own story, just to empower somebody to share life stories, and also some fun stories. I do like a lot of stuff, but I'm glad to have you on my podcast. So, how have you been?
Been good. It's been a bit busy for the last couple of I guess months or weeks, but it's been good.
Yeah, that's good. So I've always wanted to speak to you. I've always wanted to talk to you. I've been seeing you. I was like, I don't know if I can get this guy on my podcast. Like, I think I knew about you when I just moved to the United States, about like 2015, 2016, when I first listened to your song. I'm actually going to ask you about it.
Okay.
Your song, Go Wange. I listened to that song. I'm going to ask you about it. But that's how I got to know you. That's how I got to know you, to ask you about that. But before I go into your story, you use the name Kimera 516. What does that mean? Kimera 516.
Okay, so my name is Sam Kimera, right? But and then when it comes to my music platforms and stuff like that, like Spotify, Deezer, all these different things, I use Kimera, but instead of the I use the exclamation mark.
Okay.
But for my I guess it was one of those things, just like, I think it would be nice, artistic, and also has that, meaning behind it. But regarding the 516, so for my social media, for Twitter, Facebook, on Instagram, I use Kimera 516 because Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 is like a major scripture for me, especially on this journey of ministry and using my music and things like that. So what it says is, let your light so shine before all men that they may glorify your Father in heaven. Let your light so shine before all men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So those are the three parts to it. And I feel like the reason I'm doing music is exactly that. It's so that people can see that I can shine the light of Christ in me. They can see the good work that comes from that, and at the end of the day, glorify the Father. So it's like think of it like a mission statement type thing, just to remind myself why I'm doing this. So when I get discouraged, I'm like, okay, fine, Matthew chapter 5 verse 16. Yeah. But even when I'm really enjoying it, it's like, hey, don't forget, this is the purpose. This is the point.
That's what I thought at first, because I was trying to brainstorm, like, why would he use 516? Like, on my Instagram, I use Basha 256, and the 256 is just Uganda.
Yeah.
I was like 516, because at first I didn't even pay attention, and I assumed it was 256. Because that's how I saved you.
Some people automatically say Kimera 256 because it's Uganda.
I saved you on my WhatsApp as 256. And then when I went back to your social media, I was like, oh, it's 516.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm glad you explained that to us. So what's your background like? Where were you born, and do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I was born in Uganda, so born and bred in Uganda. Yeah, lots of siblings. So biologically, it's three of us, my brother and my sister. So it's three of us. But then, so my dad passed away when I was about, I was 1 year old, and my biological mom passed when I think I was like 6 years old. So P1 of it, which should be not. P1 is like,
Yeah.
P1 is like, P1 is 7. I mean, how old are you? So
Yeah,
that's
six,
6 or 7.
Yeah, six,
Yeah,
7.
6, 7. So that's when my mom passed. And then we joined the rest of my auntie's family, and they had about 6 or 7 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So then automatically joined a huge family and made the number of children 10. So that's how I grew up. But it was a good childhood, notwithstanding some challenges that come with that kind of context.
Yeah.
In terms of, it was Christian family.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where actually I get quite a bit of my love for music from, because we used to do Bible study in the evening, or we used to call it family altar. So at 8 to 9,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be praying. So get together, sing some songs, read the Bible, share what you've learned, pray together, which was really good for my grounding. Huh? So even now, like it's such a huge, strong influence on me. Yeah.
That's good. You just
Yeah.
explained Proverbs. Is it 6:22 or 22:6? Train up a child in the
Yeah.
way they grow.
Yeah.
So when you talked about, I've told people my background. Those of my listeners know a little bit of my background. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad is a
Yeah.
pastor, and what you just explained, like my dad had a church, and we used to sing. I didn't like singing. My dad would force me to sing in a children's choir, but I didn't really like to sing. I wanted to
Yeah, all
play
the
soccer.
productions.
But my dad was
Okay.
like, "How can I get other parents' kids to sing when
The
my own
other
son
guys'
is not
kids to
singing?"
you're playing football. Come here.
Yeah. So he forced me into
Yeah.
singing, but instead of loving it, I hated it because my dad was forcing me to do it. But but on the
Forcing
part
you to do it. Yeah.
but on the part you talked about, growing up in a Christian home helped me to bring the foundation of who I am today, like knowing God the way I know Him today, and whatever I go through, my parents put the
Yeah.
foundation when I was really young, and it's made me
Yeah.
who I am
Yeah.
today. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you,
Even the values and so, yeah.
you have a song with Morris Cheer, Echoes. I was just listening to it the whole week. Are you in any way related to Morris Cheer?
No, not in any way. But yeah, when we did the artwork, even that's why, like, wait, we
Yeah,
actually look up it. Okay, that's
yeah.
interesting.
That's why I got
Especially
it
I was with
from.
the
Like, you guys were looking alike. I'm like, I'm gonna ask him
I
about
was
it.
I was no, I was with the graphics guy, and we're trying to figure out which art, because at the time Morris was in, I think, Europe or something like that, on a tour or something. He's just doing his stuff. And then I'm in Uganda, he's not back, and wanted to release this. So I get his image, I get mine. Okay, so then when we're doing the work with the graphics guy, we sort of have that moment, like, you know, like, you guys are looking kind of similar.
Yeah.
And then other people who saw the image were kind of like, you kind of look like there's a what's this guy's name? The Chadwick Boseman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if you've picked so there's a particular picture where I like this kind of, it looks a little bit like that Wakanda guy. And so anyway, that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the picture and I was like, I need to ask him about it. It's because you guys looked
No.
alike, and the artwork, everything, the cover photo. But also in
Yeah.
that song, not skipping that song because of the artwork we're talking about, but you went into kind of a rap kind of thing, like
Yeah.
rap. Right? That was really
I
good.
guess I think most people didn't expect me to rap on that song, because most of my friends know me for singing, and
Acoustic
doing
too.
other different things. Yeah, acoustic, playing guitar and stuff. So, but on this particular one, it just needed. I think it was one of those things where so in my songwriting, I like to let the song be. Like sometimes you want to force the song to say something or to be something or to kind of make it, but sometimes I just, because the time when I first listened to that song, Echoes, when Morris had first released his album, I think it was the night of when it went onto Spotify and I was listening. I got home, I listened to all the songs, and that particular song, I just kept coming back to it. And I stayed in the car until I got this idea out of my head, because I felt like he said everything he needed to say, but there was like a small piece that he had left unsaid. And I'm like, no, I'm going to rate that.
Yeah.
And I did, and it took a year and whatever to put it together with him and what. But yeah, so I was like, no, instead of singing, let me do the rap. But it's also good to have contrast. Like if you're going to collaborate with a person who's singing, sometimes it just helps to do something different to give a bit of a surprise to people who listen.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I didn't know you rap. Okay, cool. Okay.
That was part of one of the questions I'm going to ask you earlier, because you sing a variety of different styles, which I'm going to still bring it up earlier in one of the songs. I'm going to talk to you, but it's so cool to see you do acoustic, rap, and many different styles, because you catch us off guard, like, oh, I used to know this guy on just a guitar and just singing. But I kind of brought it up earlier in the beginning, the song Go On. That song means a lot.
Okay.
I mean, I was listening
tell me the story.
This guy, I listened to it and I was like, why did this guy write this song? And I remember I fell on one of the interviews that you did where they asked you about the song. You shared the story. I kind of know a little bit, but I want my listeners to know. And for those of you who are listening that have never checked this song out, it's a really good song. You need to go check it out. But what was the story behind that song, Go On?
So you want the short story or the long story?
Just give us a short story so we can stay.
A short one. Okay. It's because of time, but no, I can squeeze it in. So before I got married, I think it was the year before I got married. It was like 2014, but the year before, that's when I wrote this song, and I had the chorus and I had the verses, and it was. But the thing is, I hadn't initially thought of it. Of course, I'd written it for my, as a love song to my wife and stuff like that. It was a love song. But the interesting thing that sometimes many people don't realize is, for that song, I thought it was nice, but I wanted to use it. I wanted to sell the song to make some money. For the wedding. You know how weddings can be like, yo, we need money. So I'm like, I can sell the song and make some money and then, take her for honeymoon, things like that. And that was the plan until one Saturday morning, I was walking around and somehow I stumbled onto that last section, the bridge, which is in Uganda. Nabagere kawo mutima gwange anabe mama w'abana bange narulunja singa. Exactly. So but the moment I clicked with that, I was like, yo, I'm not selling this song, forget it. Like, I have to do this song for my wife at the wedding and stuff. So that's the story of the song. I went into studio. The great friend of mine who's a producer is called Nell. He actually hooked me up. He didn't charge me to do the song in studio. And I guess it was like his wedding gift for me. So I recorded it, and the first time it played, it was at our first dance. Wow. That whole the evening and all that. Gets around. So I got to So in an interesting way, I got to sing it for my wife as we were dancing, so to speak, And then shared it on, I think several months later, 6 months or something later, shared it on just as a music thing, and all of a sudden it was all over.
What year was that?
Like radio stations, 2014.
Yeah,
so we got married 2014 March.
Yeah.
So in September, I guess, around there, I shared it, but then decided to roll it out as a single. And then it got lots of airplay. Like, you'd hear guys like, yo, your song is on Sanyu, your song is on Power, your song is on. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant. Yeah.
That's the year I came to the United States, 2014. So it was just brand new in my ears. And I was just listening. I was like, this guy, I wish I could meet this guy one day. And it's taken like 7 years or something.
7 years. This is taking too long. Yeah.
Last year, December 31st, 2021. According to Apple Music, you released a new song, Teria Cuenca, with Brian Lodega. That song.
Song is it?
That song is powerful. Like it's really powerful. Like for me, when I listen to it, like the way you guys did it, and like just watching you guys tour around. I know I contacted you and you were very busy performing, going to all over the place. So it means a lot to me. It gives me a lot of peace in my heart when I listen to it. And but what does the song mean to you when you guys did it? Like what does it speak to you?
Man, so depending on where we've met, different people know me for different things. Like so some people it's a rap thing. For some people I lead worship in church as well. So I'm part of Watoto Church. So some people only know me as a worship leader. Other people know me as like Kimera, the artist, musician, all that. Others like different circles. But one of the things that I'm really passionate about is worship. I love, especially worship that, for the context, for those who may not be familiar with these terms, sometimes we don't qualify them. There's what we call vertical worship and horizontal worship. So horizontal worship is sort of like me singing to you, kind of encouraging you or inviting you to go, let us go worship some, or don't worry, God is going to take care of this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But vertical, I like vertical because it's the one where I am singing to God about how great He is, and I love that. I love that thing, and it was one of those things. So I wrote the chorus that I was like, "Kama teria kwen, kana teria kwen," and very simple. God of the angel armies, there's none like you. And then I was stuck for years there, and then I was like, if I'm going to write a worship song in Uganda, because it's all pretty much mostly in Uganda, I was like, I need to get someone on this, and who better than Pastor Brian Luvega? So so we got in touch, and he wrote that first verse, and it's like beautiful, like if you know the language in Uganda, I know that you have a wide audience, so
yeah.
I don't want to presume. So there's something about our African languages, our heritage, that English is beautiful, but there's some things it just doesn't quite articulate. Like even something as simple as like when you say okube evuvanjuva nevugwanjuva. If the direct translation, so this is for those who only maybe speak English or other different languages, the direct translation would be like from the place where the sun comes from to the place where it goes down, right?
Yeah.
But even saying that in English doesn't quite bring
from where the sun rises to where it sets.
Like
from the east to the west. Yes, actually, that's it. From the east to the west or something like that.
So when you say in English, it's sort of the simple way is say from the east to the west. Yet when you say it in Uganda, the picture is like if the sun were a person, it would come from here. And it would end its journey here. That's the imagery, right? All creation. So etc. So what we decided, as soon as he wrote that verse, it was beautiful. And what I did was like, this is beautiful. I'm not trying to write anything else. Let me just translate what is done to English. So in the second verse, I'm the guy who simplifies it and tries to make it, sort of edible for the person who only speaks English. But I thought it was a beautiful mix of like languages and cultures. And then there's a funny part of the story where we wanted to make it really thematic and strongly African. So we got a bunch of friends together who played like different instruments, stringed instruments, thumb piano, adungu, all these different, and we wanted to put it all in a song. And then it didn't work. It just backfired. So we met a bunch of weeks until we were like, you know what, Brian, I think we're just trying to make this song something it isn't. So we left it. I said, I'll just leave everything. And then we took some months off and decided, you know what, maybe what will move this song forward is like prayer and fasting. So we actually took some time off and prayed and fasted about the song so that the song stays as it needs to be, not a clever song, but a worship song. So it's so when I watched this, so that's the song. The production process was a whole process of its own. Getting the video together was a whole So when I think of the whole song, I'm like, man, God is good. And indeed, he does things in his own timing. Actually, I just got a picture from a friend yesterday, and it came on to Trace. So there's a program that does like gospel music videos and stuff. So Trace Gospel put it on. We submitted it, and I think over the last week it just came on. So we're like, that is such a dope thing.
Yeah. There's a part you didn't mention about that, actually my favorite in the song, but the kids choir, where you have the kids.
Yeah.
That melts my heart. Like, I just like when the voices of those kids just like, who are those kids? Was it a choir that you brought?
No, so that's a choir in a place called Kosovo, and the choir is called Mwendo Choir. So you remember that thing? So Brian and I are both very thematic writers type. So we wanted to make it African, and then the short version of it is that the wisdom God gave us was that no, it only needs to be the drum you hear, not a bunch of, not too many, just the drum, the African drum. So that's when you hear that middle section. For me, that's my favorite. And then for the children, it's that scripture, from the lips of children and babes, you've ordained praise. Where like, and then it needs to be family based. So you hear men singing, you hear women singing, and you hear children to represent the family. And the video is done in a home setting. So after all that came together, I was like, yes, yes. And of course, that's the story you can't always tell when someone watches a video. But personally, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we hoped for it to be.
Yeah, that song came out really good, and it makes somebody's heart, like I said, it makes peace in my heart. And I've seen you share a video of a little boy on your Instagram doing praise and worship of that song. It was a little boy who was in church. That was pretty cool too. And speaking of Brian Lubega, that guy, I don't know him, he doesn't know me, but he sang a song with Gukubida. That song, every time I listen to it, I cry. I literally cried. I sent it to my friend. I'm like, this song makes me feel like I am there with God right there on his feet. Like, and so I like him. I like him a lot. He doesn't know me, but his song blessed my heart a lot. I still have it in my phone. Every time I play it,
I'm for those who may not understand what Wegukubida means. Wegukubida is a word that direct translation is where his heart beats from. And the whole idea of the song, Brian is writing about wanting to be in God's presence, right where his heart is. You know, so, and it's a beautiful worship song as well.
Yeah. Thank you for actually elaborating that for my listener to actually understand. I'm gonna jump to the Puzzle album, because the Puzzle album has some really good music that I really love. I listened to the whole album. I listened to a lot of your songs. It just fits with my type of music. Like, it just flows with my, like, even when you rap, like in Echoes, there's another style I'm gonna talk about later, but everything you do is just fits in. Like, this is a song I would listen to. But on that album, there's a song called Make a Way. There's an American band that's my favorite band. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's a Christian band. They're called I Am They. It's a band. I Am They? I Am They. They have the same title of the song. The songs are different, but they use the same title, Make a Way. And when I listened to their song, I just came to the United States. Life was hard. Like, I came here,
that transition.
I left my family, my dad, mom, brother, everybody was in Uganda. I came to the United States, and life was hard on me. But when I listened to this song, the message is the same when you compare your song to their song. So if you check it out later, but it says, you brought me to the desert so you can be my water. I would relate to that song because when I came to the United States, like,
that's a powerful line.
like he brought me here, and then he was just providing for me. So when I listen to your song, it brings the same peace, just like that song that I listened to. So if you go and check out that out, what was the reason? Check out the band, listen to that song. But what was the reason for that song too? Like, is there something in your life that made you write that?
Let me see. I think my mind was especially around. I think like when we go to that rap section there. Sometimes, basically, it's a story. Like sometimes life can just be really hard. Like just really, and like it's the strangest thing to start a song by listing things that like broken, hopeless, confused, helpless. Like it can feel depressing, but sometimes that's just how you feel. You know what I mean? And I can't remember exactly what situation I was going through, but I remember also thinking in terms of that scripture that says, though we may be, what's that scripture? And now the brain freeze. I think it was Paul who was writing to a certain church, and was saying them, like, though we may be going through all this craziness and madness, like brain freeze. What's this? Like, though we may be persecuted, not abandoned, struck down, not destroyed, like everything. It's sort of like he goes one layer, then another one. Like it's still like from bad to worse to worse to worse. Even then, in the middle of all that jazz, like God will make a way. And there's also other scriptures that say we've not been like tempted and whatever beyond what we can manage, because Jesus has been through that, and because he has the victory, we have the victory. So regardless of how crazy life gets, we have to remember, man, like it's hard to believe, but God will make a way where seems to be no way, So that worked out really well.
I want all my listeners to kind of just go and check out that whole album. Like songs there are some songs that you might just when you artists make an album, there's some songs that stick out more than the others, and people tend to forget these are the songs. But I'm the kind of person who, when I listen to an artist, I want to listen to an album, not just one song.
Really?
So like, I'm an album.
Today, most guys listen to like maybe like the one song they heard on radio, they Shazammed it, and like
I just do albums. Like I just when anybody releases a new album, I just play the whole song. On the same album, you have the song "Why." That's the song I was bringing later. I didn't want to give it away. Like it was just ready. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like this kind of person, like I want my listeners to go and check the song "Why," and then they will understand what we're talking about. So what was that? You did just get a vibe like Kampala?
Yes, partly I got a vibe, but it was also, I know, like, why is just such a reggae. It's just like a Caribbean word. I think it's like why. Like you can just vibe all day just singing why. But also, I think I was in my songwriting mind. I was thinking of like why, like sort of like someone wondering why all this stuff happens. Like sometimes life. So I like backtrack. I like writing about life. And I like framing questions and bringing it to topics and just creating conversation around some things, like what we normally may not have a full conversation about. I like to kind of nudge that using my songwriting. So for that particular song, I was thinking like, there's all this stuff that happens in the world and we ask why. All of us ask why, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like I wrote down, you say, you think that song is really about like real life stories and like this song. And one of my favorite line I wrote down, I was gonna tell you, you say you survive a car accident, but then you die of malaria from a mosquito.
And again, like putting like the Uganda, which is our local language, in there, like like you literally survive an accident, like a truck is going to hit you and you survive, but then you die because of a mosquito bite. Like it's like, what's that about? Just the irony of life. Or like even in the relationship context, meaning like we really enjoyed the wedding, but the marriage didn't work. What's that about? You know what I mean? Like, So just contrasting all those things, but then also then bringing in kind of like a nugget of wisdom at the end where I'm singing, nothing changes unless you and I start asking questions. We need to ask, we need to reflect and make better decisions, because some of this stuff can change if we choose to do something about it,
Right.
which is the point. But then I'm like, it can't be, if you start with that, it's too serious of a song. So let's make it reggae, man, you know, like just... And that's some styles of music are nice because you can really get away with dropping a lot of wisdom, but in a fun way. So that was
song
reggae for
is a
sure.
song like you can dance to, but then also like you can listen to the message in that song, and it helps you out.
Yeah.
So my final song on this album, I've picked out a lot of them. I Care. So I Care has a line that made me really laugh a lot, but also made me think a lot.
Okay. So for those who don't understand Luganda, the translation is, if I'm talking to a Christian, like, if you're a Christian, don't lie to me. You're going to say, I'll pray for you, but you're not going to pray for me. Instead, just give me 1,000 shillings is like a quote, like chikumi, like just give me a penny. Give me a penny so I can buy something to eat, like something that, so meaning like the penny that you give me for something I can get to eat is better than you promising me to pray for me, and you're not going to pray for me.
And that's crazy that people actually do that. Like, you know, we Christians, we kind of, that's the first thing, I'll pray for you. And they won't even pray for you, but they just want to make you feel better. Other than just acting there and then, like,
because I found myself in the same situation though, because I was then the guy who was saying, no, I'll pray for you, but then you meet like you meet Bonnie like 3 weeks later, and it's like, yo man, thank you for praying for me, and honestly you're like, that wasn't me, you know, like I didn't remember to pray for you. But realizing, but that also comes from the book of James. Faith without works is simply dead. And also, if you're going to, it's in the book of James where the Bible says, don't, what does it say? Well, like, if it's in your power to do something about it, don't put it off for later. So if someone is feeling cold, don't tell them, oh, God bless you, stay warm. No, give them a jacket. If someone is hungry, don't tell them, no, be well fed. And that's actually in the Bible, so it's right there. And I'm like, let's do a song. And so most people kind of gravitate to that line, and they're like, man. And it's good to know, to challenge. So the thing I decided to do after that was to challenge myself. Like, even when I say I'm going to pray for you, I'm like, no, let's pray now. Like, if you tell me, hey, I'm praying about this with my wife, we're struggling with this, I'm like, can I pray with you now? Not like tomorrow, let's do it now. And if I can do something about it, I'll go ahead. But that was fun. And that we took a bit more of like a dance hall vibe there, which was the first time I think I was doing that.
That's crazy. Like the whole album is just different style of music. Like when you listen to it, like you get reggae, you get acoustic, you get all sorts of it. But also the message in the album is really good. So I want to appreciate you for that. And for all my listeners, I'm gonna put the link to the album in the description of this video, so you guys can check it out and check out his music. Maybe also support his music, and the more you stream it, the more they benefit too.
Appreciate that.
Now we're almost coming to close to, I told you an hour, 30 minutes. So
no, it's cool. Let's keep going.
I really enjoyed, I enjoyed having with you, and just I didn't expect us to just have fun and just laugh, because all the things, and this is what I like hosting people and just talk about life. This is a therapy for me to just laugh with people. Like I didn't know, you didn't know me like 2 months ago, but here we are, we're laughing like we've been friends for like a long time. But I follow you on those Instagram, social media, and you posted a video not a while back, I think it's in February this month. And you said 80% of us give up on our New Year resolution. And I listened to it, the whole of it, because I was like, he has a point. So my New Year resolution was to live a selfless life. Like this year, I want to be selfless. I want to care about other people more than I care about myself. And that's something I've been trying to do since this year started. I know the schools opened in Uganda, I've been working with my dad. My dad has a little school, and he has been sharing me stories about kids that their parents abandoned them, that they can't go to school. So I was like, how can I use my platform myself to help? And I've tried to help at least 5 kids to go to school, provided
Oh,
for
it's
some
pretty good.
families. And so that's the small thing I can do. And just bringing awareness. If somebody's trying to do something, I want to be a
Yeah,
voice to like expand it to other people. And that's
yeah,
one of my
that's
goals.
really good.
I'm still sticking to it. I'm trying, but my question was gonna be
Yeah.
like, how? I know you gave your reasons in the video, but like, how have you been able to stick to your resolution?
I don't know if the reason why I do that stuff on Instagram is to share something I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
So not necessarily something I've learned. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I refer to it as the scripture in the Proverbs that says wisdom is in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So we are picking up these lessons as we go, and if you're paying attention, you will pick it up. So I found it interesting as well. What I'm learning and what I'm trying to do is to put systems like that keep me disciplined, so that I'm like steady paced and not distracted. It's very difficult, like in terms of productivity, in terms of keeping resolutions. For instance, let me be open here. So like you're talking about this album that we did. Puzzle is like 2017, 2018,
Mm-hmm.
right?
2018, yeah.
So it's been a minute since I've released a bunch of singles since then, but I'm like, we have a body of work. I need to release music this year. So even if that as like a body of work, I need to release 2 EPs this year. One is called this, the other is called that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do I stay? And then, so to help me do that, what I've picked up is the guy who made a recommendation of a book study of a book, and the book is called Compound Effect. And it's by a guy called Darren Hardy, something like that. Darren Hardy. I can't remember the name. But anyway, the idea is that if you want to keep your goals, then instead of trying to have bursts of like willpower and pushing through, and maybe like, for instance, you who is helping to keep kids in school and where you get this particular month where you fund like 10 kids, and then maybe, so instead of that, it's like just get disciplines and habits. If you put away a small amount of money every week, every month, and just be faithful with that. Maybe it's like $50 a week, and just put it away, and maybe choose, okay, let me not take coffee, let me put that, instead of 2 cups, I'll take one because it costs. And just like every week, it's like you'll be surprised. So the same thing that happens with money in terms of saving is the same thing that should be happening with our goals. You don't reach your retirement and then try to like get these gigs in 1 year, then have all the money for your retirement.
Right.
Like it's these like baby steps. It's these baby steps. And I think it would even be the same like with your podcast. Like you don't sit down in 1 week and create content for a whole year. You just make sure that every week or every whatever, every once in whatever, you make sure you get that one. Okay, so we've done that. Okay, put that aside now. Let's work on the next one.
Yeah.
Just commitment, reach out to people. And that seems to be helping me a lot. But I'm also learning now how to manage my time better so that I give attention to what I need to give attention to. Because sometimes it gets like a lot, and I'm like, I need to work backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And just consistency and just keeping to do what you're doing, and just taking baby steps, like you said.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that out, so for people to just, because I know a lot of us have had like New Year's resolution, and you said in the video we're in the middle of Feb. Actually, Feb is almost ending, but I just wanted my listeners to rethink about their New Year's resolution, and listening to what those who might not have got a chance to see a video on Instagram, to just listen to what you kind of voiced on there, and then helps them to rethink about their lives. So you grew up in Uganda. What's the kind of message can you send to the young boys and girls that are listening to you all over the world? I'm not gonna specify like Uganda. I know most of the things I do here, my mind's just head back to Uganda and try to encourage the kids there. But like in general, maybe they're not in Uganda, they're in another country and they're going through tough time. What kind of message would you send to a young boy and girl who is listening to this?
There's so many things that come to mind. Immediately, of course, I think of Make a Way. It has a song in terms of, especially if you're going through a really tough time. And yeah, economies are opening up, but like people are in different spaces, even like children. You know, there's families, whether it's school, whether you're a college student who's trying to hustle through your next semester and things like that. It's very difficulties, but it's good to remember God will make a way where there seems to be no way, right? So it's good to remember, like, even if things get to their worst, the fact is God can make a way where there seems to be no way. So if you give up hope and faith, you're really giving up a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say stick to it. But for those who may not necessarily be dealing with that kind of tension, I think it would be more the question of purpose. The question of purpose, pursue your purpose. And I guess it would be allow your potential to point you to your purpose. And there's a preacher who said, sometimes you focus so much on potential, on your ability, what you can do, and you lose yourself in your potential because you're so caught up in, I can do this. I'm a singer, for instance, myself. I'm a singer. I play an instrument. I do this. I do that. And you label yourself that, and that's it. Whereas in God's plan, all those are tools. They're not labels. They're tools for you to accomplish what it is that God gave you to do. Right? And I'm a Christian, so I'm always quoting scripture here and there. Like Ephesians 2:10 says, we're all God's workmanship, and He created us to do some specific things that He had for us to do before we got here. Basically, there's a plan. There's a plan, and Bonnie is here to accomplish several things that God already set out for him to do. So Bonnie is not kind of coming up with new stuff, right? God has a better plan, okay? And now it's for Bonnie to realize, it's for Sam to realize, it's for Lillian, for Joanne, for Emma to realize, okay, so God has given me this ability, He's given me these resources, He's given me this kind of skill, He's given me 1, 2, 3, then figure out, oh, okay, so my passion is to do this. Now I point that towards my purpose. So that what? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot that can be discovered, but I just wanted to point out the difference between potential and purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So because it's not always the same. And as young people, sometimes it's easier to get caught in potential because it's your gifts, your abilities, your skills, but all those come together to do something. Right. And it's to lean into that.
Yeah, nice. I appreciate that. And that's something actually to think about, like potential and purpose. Like some people can confuse that, and you just talked about it. Now my head is just spinning and just thinking about it. And that's why
let's talk about that. What are you thinking about?
Oh no, I was just, when you say like when you have a potential of something, but then you can miss your purpose, like let's say I'll give an example. I don't think it was a reality, but like when I talked about singing, like when I said I think I can play really good in soccer, like I can play good football, but then God wants me, He thinks I can do better singing, you know, and then I'm like, no, I can do really good in football. Like that's my potential. That's where I feel, but like my purpose would be to sing and then kind of just pass on the message. Like many people will benefit from me singing than playing soccer. So that's how I was just kind of thinking about it. But like,
well, there's also another perspective. So for instance, it's possible for you to be a great singer and you're great with football or soccer, right? Because then you may discover, like just say, you may discover God placed you here so you could really speak a message of encouragement to young people, right?
Yeah.
And you can spread that message. So then you use football. If you hear the kids outside, that's my daughter. She just came back from school. But if you hear if you hear, if people can, you can do music that speaks to the youth to remind them and to encourage them in their journey. Okay, but possibly you could also still play football and create and be so good at it that the young people are drawn to you. So they are drawn to you because of your skill. But when they come to you, the kind of conversation. So then you use your platform to engage them in conversation about their life. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then either way, you're using your football, so even if you're like the footballer musician who has a podcast, so then all of a sudden you're using all these three pieces to engage in conversation about this thing to reach the youth. Does that make sense? So then it's not to limit your potential, but it's to give it a sense of purpose, again, to guide it using purpose.
Yeah.
So if you think of, purpose, sorry, I'm passionate about this, so I can talk all day. I'm also like a coach, trainer type, management type. Right. So and I think purpose is like a blueprint, like an architecture design. And the bricks and all these other things are the potential. So you could take a truck of bricks and you could build any kind of house you want, But if you first look at the design, like what did God want to build here, then you discover, so the design was to build, for instance, an older folks' home, so that I can take care of people when they're beyond their ability to take care of themselves. So then I take this truck of bricks, I take whatever, all these resources, and I guide them towards that because it makes meaning. And it's God's way of saying to all the folks who don't have a home themselves, to remind them you are loved, exactly what you're doing for the kids who don't have school fees. So you may do it through the podcast and say, hey, if you support this podcast, all the proceeds that come in through this, just label it. I'll make sure it gets to the right people. And we'll let you know how the kids are progressing. So you're doing it through communication, sharing your story, but you're using this platform to raise awareness to the orphan and the widow or the vulnerable person who doesn't have. So then it's not just about you making podcasts, there's a purpose to it.
Right.
So I'm super passionate about that sort of thing.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you actually talked about that. Maybe I'll have you back again and just dive deeper in that. Because that's really
happy
good.
to.
That's really good.
Thanks.
But also the other question I want to ask you, like, what is your life lesson? What's a life lesson at this point that you've learned in your life that you want to share with us?
You guys. How much time do you have?
I'll try to. We have about 15 minutes.
Okay.
But so I had 15 minutes. I had 2 more questions, but they're not.
Okay, no, I'm messing with you. Let me just. The thing is, as you can tell, there's a lot that I'm learning right now, and I'll be to update it to what's happening in my life presently. Is a life lesson right now. It's sort of like Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm generally the kind of person who overthinks things. Like I want to plan and to plan and to plan and to plan forever. Like it's paralysis, right? Where someone else is, where what I'm trying to apply as a life lesson this year, especially, is do it. Let's not think excessively. I mean, especially if it's not like a moral thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's something, for instance, if someone out there is thinking, you know what, I've watched Bonnie's podcast and I'm like, that's quite interesting. Like he's doing it in his room. He put blinds in the window. He got some equipment and he's sharing his story. It shouldn't look complicated and is having a great impact. I think I should do that. So what I would tell that person is, I think you should. When can we start?
Yeah.
Like, let's not complicate it. What do you need? I need this amount of dollars to buy a mic and a good piece of equipment. Like, you don't need the $1 million mic. Let's go get some gear to start and improve as we go. The people are out there that would gladly share their story, reach out to them on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, Twitter, and you can start the podcast and reach whoever you need to. Like, let's do it. So that's what I'm doing. That's like, so this year I'm engaging in like stuff like acting. I'm doing like some classes with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I can do this. I think it's within my potential. And now that's the advantage of really getting a closer picture of your purpose, because then you realize all these things around me are tools. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Like Bonnie, if you go tomorrow and like, I used to sing as a child. I used to hate it, but I think there's a point for it. Like, yeah, if you want to play an instrument, why not? Like, it's on YouTube. Go learn stuff, you know.
Yeah, I have it over here just for decoration.
Yeah, there you go. You know, like, I want to get better in this. Like, why not? Why are we waiting for 2023? Like, this year is here. Why don't we put some use to it? So just stay in action. And also the reward for that is along the way, you discover like, I get that. Because there's some things that you, if you look at life as a journey, it's a winding road, but you can't know what's around the next turn unless you just walk to this point, you know, but you can't map it out forever. Like, go to the turn, see what's left, ask God, okay, what are we doing here? What do you need? And we'll get it. So just do it. That's what I'm learning, and that's what I encourage people to. Of course, it has to be legal. Yeah, it has to be legal.
That's a good life lesson. And you mentioned some of the things that, I had studied like guitar classes just like to try some. I'm the kind of person who likes to try new things, like try to teach myself something. Like, even you mentioned the podcast. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, but I used to listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm like, and during the pandemic, that's when we were locked in the house. We're just sitting there, and I'm like, I could start a podcast where I share stories, bring people, share their stories, and maybe somebody's gonna listen to it. They're going through the same thing, and I'm like, I did it this way. I can apply this in my life. So I like.
Well done, man. Well done with that.
So one of my second last question I'm gonna ask you: what gets you excited about life?
Conversations like this.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that. Conversations like this get me really stirred up, because then talking about possibility and potential and purpose, that really gets me fired up. But also what gets me really encouraged is, for instance, my creative journey is when I share a piece of, for instance, my story in terms of a conversation like this, or put it in a song, or put it in some art, whatever it is, and it actually connects with someone. That's like, and for me, sometimes I do some songs about relationships and songs about life. When someone responds to you and says, this song meant this to me and it helped me go through this situation, that's like, whoa, that's like, my tank is full, let's go do some other stuff, you know? And also like this conversation where, I mean, you don't have to, you could have invited a bunch of other people for this podcast, but the fact that you've done your homework, you're looking at this, and the music has impacted you in some way, and you've been checking, it's like, I don't take that for granted, because people don't have to. There's a billion artists out there they can reach out to. So I appreciate it, and definitely encourages me.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. And like you can tell, I really like your music. I really like you as a person. I like the way you take yourself, Thanks, like man. Your personality, and just I don't know how to say it, but like, the hardest thing is like getting people like you who are celebrities, like I want to say, like, people who are musicians like this guy. And for me, I like people who are down low, like talking to you, have a conversation like this without you think like people being over proud about what they have achieved, where they're at, but just being just low to help somebody else. I love that. And Thanks, you mentioned like just having conversation like this is I call it my therapy session, like just talking to people like you and just listening to you, what you have to say, and then making my listeners also listen to this. I didn't know this conversation was going to end up, I mean, I had these questions here, but sometimes you host somebody and they just have two answers for you, like two answers,
Right.
and you're like, oh yeah, that's done.
So, okay,
But
what's yes,
I
no?
I didn't know it was gonna expand like this, which I really love. Like I like asking a question, and somebody just opens it up, and we just have
Yeah.
a long conversation. So I really appreciate that, and I've enjoyed
Thanks,
having
man.
you on my podcast. I would gladly have you back here when we get like a certain topic, just to come here and digest this topic of
Yeah, let's do
purpose
it.
and calling and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That would be really
Yeah.
cool. But
Yeah,
before I
yeah.
let you go, I mentioned a few
Cool.
people in this conversation when we had. I mentioned Brian Lubega, I mentioned Maurice Chia. There's a question I ask all my guests that I also my podcast, like, who would you like to see on my podcast next? And you help me find the person and connect me to the person so I can host them.
Like, no, we spoke about Brian Lubega. I'd gladly make that connection because again, he's that guy. He's chill, regardless of all the stuff that he's achieved.
Yeah.
He's just,
I
and
see
that's
him
why
on,
we vibe along really well. It's just,
I
chill.
see him on pictures and like when he's singing, you just see a humble guy, but I've never
Yeah.
talked to him.
No, that's exact. What you see is what you get. He's like, it's just chill, and he's so passionate about the word of God. Like in every conversation I have with him, I feel like I need to be having like a pen and paper or like recording the conversation, because I'm like, I didn't know that. Wait, what? Like like when you listen to his songs, like if you ever ask him the story behind, you'll be like, what?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So yeah, I'm happy to make that connection. So Brian Lubega, I would definitely suggest.
I would really love to have Brian.
The only challenge is like you'll spend half the session unpacking the imagery within his work and his lyrics. It's like it's so deep. You're going to be like, wait, what?
I was just about to say, like, I think I'm going to just host him for one thing. How did you write the song Wegukubira? And we just
and you'll probably end up in a prayer session or worship session or like a sermon. He's that guy. Yeah. He's that guy. In fact, when you call him, let's make it work. You should ask him about a new project. He has a new project that he's working on, and he has a heart for hymns. I know when we were doing the radio tour, he was speaking about that. Like he and not just old school hymns, but he's writing hymns. He's writing hymns, and it's so rich.
Wow,
it's amazing. So this year, I'm looking forward to that project of his and like lots of worship stuff. Yeah. But yeah, and he's also a pastor. He started his church, I think, just a while back. Yeah, man, you should let me know what I can do. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, most definitely. After the recording out on WhatsApp, we'll get in touch and just make that happen. So anyway, we planned for 30 minutes, but because of the deep conversation, I really appreciate every minute. I know you're a busy guy.
No problem.
And my job just switched to 410s, where we work 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts.
Yeah.
So then I get Mondays off. So that's good for my podcast, because it's hard for me to schedule people like you like on the weekends, because I only get weekends. Right. But like if I can host you like on a Monday, where I'm gonna be always free on a Monday, that helps me. And then since I'm the producer, the editor, everything, I want to give myself time to just like edit, and I just when I pre-record it, I edit it and then release it. So it gives me time to work on them. So, but I really appreciate you coming on my podcast. It means a lot to speak to you. I've looked forward for 7 years. I've looked forward to just talking having a conversation with you, and having you on my podcast is a blessing to me.
Thank you. No, thank you for hosting me. Again, you didn't have to, but you did. You reached out, and I'm glad we could make today happen, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Hey there, I am Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a new episode about my podcast. And for more information about this podcast, follow me on my Instagram page, talk_show_256.